All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Generations Thrilling 30 Blitzwing. He's a figure, all right. I remember being very excited for this guy at the time when they announced both him and Springer. And at the time, it was kind of funny because I was like, "Oh, I'm definitely picking up Blitzwing. I don't know if I need Springer." And turned out to be, Blitzwing is a little bit of a mess, and Springer is still regarded as like one of the best sort of like modernish Transformers. But yeah, here he is in his tank mode. It's a little bit abstract. The turret has got a little bit. Well, really, the whole thing has kind of like hollow bits and gaps. They hadn't quite gotten the triple changer formula down yet. Not that they necessarily have now either, honestly, but it's okay. It rolls decently well. Now, he did have some problem at the time where because of the way the arms didn't really lock in robot mode, there was like a fix that you would like take apart the torso piece and then like sand down these bits so that it would sit a little closer in on the body. Now, as a result, that also moves these tabs a little bit up, which means that the treads are kind of, further up if you compress them a little bit to tab them in properly, which means that his cockpit does kind of like bump against the ground here. Depending on how you have it, you can rotate it in a certain way, but it can brush up against the ground just a little bit, which is kind of annoying. But that's only if you did that fix, which still, I think this is a more manageable problem than, what the fix actually accomplished. But I'm sure there was like a sweet spot in there at the time that like you could sand it down without causing either of those things to be issues. But yeah, he's got a rotating turret which rotates way up here, so it looks a little bit awkward in most positions. He does have a missile, one of the few missiled figures that I still actually own the missile for. Basically, you just compress the cannon here and it will shoot out the missile. It's not a super traumatic effect there, kind of just releasing it. It's not great, but yeah, he was like one of the last figures to have like a spring-loaded thing. Honestly, this probably would have worked better if it had like a ball socket thing in there and it was just like a one of those like newer compression missiles, which is again how Thrilling 30 Springer did it. So I don't know, but yeah, otherwise tank mode is not great, but it's okay. He comes with a couple weapons here. He comes with a gun here and his sword. In terms of storage, I mean, it's really just kind of peg it onto the top of the vehicle mode. At least for the sword, I feel like it does kind of help to like fill in some of the turret a little bit. Like, yeah, he still has a sword sticking up at the top here, but fills in these gaps a little bit. And then you could put the gun on the sword because the sword also has a port. You could also peg it into one of the screw holes on the side here if you want to do that instead. I generally just leave the gun off to the side and just leave him with the sword, but to each their own. I feel like that this looks okay. But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe. So you can see, is obviously larger, though, true tank scale. I think he'd be even larger than that. That's what they look like together. And then here he is with our, I think it was just regular Legacy, right? With our Legacy Blitzwing. So you can see what the two of them look like together. And obviously me and everyone else has their issues with this figure, but the tank mode definitely looks a lot better. I don't really like the fake cockpit thing, but I talked about all that in his own video, but it is just a more solid tank mode overall, and actually looks more like an Earth tank. Rather than, this guy he's kind of just like tank shaped. He's not necessarily like a tank, but that's what the two of them look like together. Now, obviously, being a Blitzwing figure, this is a triple changer, which is the reason that, his alt modes suffer a little bit. But yeah, to get onto that transformation, we'll just take off the weapons for now. He's got some neat things going on, actually. First thing you want to do is the legs will tab in down here and then also kind of slot in up here with this like T-tab. So you sort of just like untab this and then pull it down. And then once you have those loosened up, you can take these panels and fold them in just like that. And then take what will eventually be the hips and just compress those in. I don't know why they're giving me trouble now. There we go. Compress those in like that. And then for these, you basically want to take the treads. They will untab from the hips here. I don't know why everything's fighting me so much, but you've got the wings, which actually store inside the legs, which is kind of neat, and fold those out till they, reach a natural resting spot. And then you can take the treads, fold this section in, and then compress it in on this joint here. And then you take this little wing flap here and fold that open so it kind of sits like that, just to slightly widen the wing. These don't really have like any strong locking point, which is another kind of annoying thing. And then you rotate this 90 degrees. We'll do the same thing on the other side here. There we go. And then basically, we'll just kind of get the turret out of the way for now, because you want to take the cockpit here. Now, I would be kind of careful with this section, because this is actually my second copy of him. At the time, I rotated this section around, and this purple piece just snapped. So you want to do this kind of carefully. You kind of pull the cockpit up so it can rotate around like this. And then you have to kind of rotate the turret in such a way so that this tab has clearance to get underneath here, which is basically wanted at this angle so that this purple panel here has that flat side facing. And yeah, you just rotate it up, click it into place, and just snap it in like that. And then you can take the legs here, and now they'll use these little tabs here to go into that T-tab spot there. And I find it's kind of easy to rotate them in, so they kind of click in under these pieces here. Again, this is another thing that gets a little bit tighter if you do that mod, where basically you'd unscrew this section and sand this bit down here a little bit so that these sit closer together to help the arms stay in place. But yeah, there we go. And then you can kind of take the back section here, rotate out the back fins, which are just on his feet, and then you can kind of open these bits up as thrusters. They're on ball joints, so they don't really have a clear place to go. They kind of just float around there, which is a little bit annoying. And then you can take the turret itself, rotate it around, and it has tabs, which will now tab into the legs to keep it in place. Take the gun, and it will double hinge down in between the legs here and just sit out the back like that. And then you want to take the arm bits here, untab them, rotate them 90 degrees, and then tab them back in here. So they sit like this, basically. And then you just flip up these bits that were on the shoulder. And yeah, there we have Blitzwing in his jet mode. And yeah, it's kind of a mess as well. It's definitely very hollow. You can see the bits in the back here, but I do kind of appreciate what they were trying to go for here. It's kind of a neat sort of transformation to get to this mode here. He does have a landing gear in the front here, and then two kind of sculpted into the back here, so you can have him sitting down like that. In terms of weapon storage, again, it's pretty similar. You just kind of peg this on top here, which actually does help fill this in a little bit, which is nice. And then the gun can also go on top here if you want it to. And that, that works well enough. You also can, if you want, just because of how this is all jointed around, you could flip this around so you can shoot underneath them, which is kind of cool. The cockpit is a little bit annoying because the front section here is a rubbery piece here, which is just how it has to fold up for transformation. And the head is on a spring, so it's constantly trying to work itself off. And you can see it's taken some yellow paint from the top of the head there, which is not great. But yeah, it's always just kind of a clumsy little mechanism here. But yeah, jet mode is okay. These bits are really floppy. I've tightened them up and they're still floppy. But it's also, because they're on this friction joint, they're kind of hard to effectively to tighten up super well. But, it was a while ago that I did that. So maybe if I did it again, it would actually work a little bit better. But yeah, it's an okay looking jet mode. Again, I feel like both the vehicle modes on this guy suffer quite a bit. But in terms of comparisons in this mode, here he is again with side swipes. You can see, again, obviously the typical problem with jet formers is that they don't scale super well with cars. But yeah, it's decently sized. And then here he is again with Legacy Blitzwing. Obviously, I think that both of their jet modes are maybe the most flawed mode. I don't know, actually. His tank mode is a little rough. But yeah, neither of these are amazing for, different reasons. But yeah, that's what they look like together. And then, yeah, obviously we got to move on to the robot mode transformation. And just take the weapons off again here. Basically what you want to do with the wings is just compress that little bit here and then just compress them up like this, so they won't compress all the way, but it's just enough so that they don't like push out the treads from the other side. And then you want to untab the whole turret section here, so you can take the legs. Again, kind of rotating them out is the easiest way to do it. And rotate them down just like this. Take the turret, kind of just undoing a lot of the stuff we just did here. Fold that back up so you can take the nose cone section. Again, I try to untab this bit first so that it's kind of annoying. It terrifies me. Ever since that piece snapped, it terrifies me to do this every single time I do it. But you want to rotate that back around where it was and just tab it in like that. And then the legs, we basically want to rotate so the treads are facing forward, and then take these bits here and fold out the feet, and then you can do whatever you want with these. I usually fold them up like that. Again, the feet are a little messy on this guy, but a lot of them is, so whatever. And then let's adjust the camera here for a sec, because he is a pretty tall Voyager by today's standards. And then basically what we want to do here with this whole backpack mess is you want to take the arms, and they will rotate down on this hinge right here, and then this whole thing will rotate down, and then this bit will tab out onto the inside of the chest piece. And this was the thing that was very loose originally before people did that mod, and you kind of have to do it on both sides to get it actually like fully locked in there. And then that's basically how you want the shoulders, and they should stay tabbed in like this, though originally like this whole, because these pieces were further apart, that didn't stay like locked in super securely. And then you take the arms and you rotate them down on this joint here, rotate them around, and then take these little panels here that are covering the hands and then fold them onto the inside of the forearms there, just like that. We can take the cannon here, it will double hinge onto the back, and then you take the nose cone section and it will fold down like this to kind of sit behind the cannon, and then the head should notionally pop itself up, but usually you have to help it a little bit. And yeah, there we have Thrilling 30 Blitzwing in his robot mode. And yeah, just as a silhouette, I feel like he actually does look pretty cool. Obviously, he's not like superbly G1 accurate or anything. They were kind of going for more of like a stylized thing at the time, but I do think he does look good. He does also have it's kind of like doing this sort of like, legacy G1ification before doing, the actual legacy G1ification. He has a face flip gimmick like animated Blitzwing, because that was like the, most relevant media Blitzwing had been in at the time, and honestly still is. But instead of rotating around this way, though, he rotates around this way. So you've got his standard face there where they've kind of replaced the like Arnold face with his more like just G1 style face. So you could just have a G1 style Blitzwing. And then these are kind of annoying to move around. You can rotate it around like that. So he's got the sort of like crazy face there. And then if you rotate it around again, he's got, like a version of the like kind of smart face there, which honestly, I always really liked. I thought that was kind of a neat gimmick. Now it does make his head look a little weird because he basically has this like strange sort of chin guard here. And I think that proportionally the face that looks the best on him is the G1 style face, but he does have this like little weird bit underneath his chin there, which is a little awkward. But honestly, I like that. I always thought that was kind of a neat gimmick, even if it is a little kind of a pain to operate. But yeah, to get into articulation, the head is just on a swivel here because, doing I don't know, I guess they could have done a ball joint and still done that whole thing, but still, it's just on a swivel. The arms can rotate around like this. They rotate out on this joint, which is really, really tight. And because it has like all this mechanism too, it's like, you're more likely to unlock that unless you actually like, even with the fix, honestly, even unless you like hold it at the shoulder block and move it up, because this is a really unnecessarily tight joint. He's got a bicep swivel, about 90 degrees of bend at the elbow. He does have wrist swivels, which is nice. Nothing at the waist, just because of how all of that flips around. Hips can go forward and back and out to the side. He's got like a joint set up here that actually allows for that to kind of fold out even more, even though like, but keeping it compressed into the body, which is kind of neat. He's got a thigh swivel. His knees are a little high, but he does get about 90 degrees there. And then the feet are on ball joints. So they can rotate around and then kind of tilt forward and back and side to side a little bit. So yeah, honestly, pretty decent transformation. His shoulders being so tight is the thing that's really annoying about him. And then obviously, these bits coming undone, which is still an issue even after the fix, but without the fix, it was really, really bad. Also, again, like I said, these bits are super floppy, which is also really annoying, but otherwise he's decent. Obviously could use a waist, but because of how it flips around like that, I'm not too bothered by that. But yeah, we can give him his weapons here. Obviously he can hold his sword just like that, hold the gun, which is maybe a little bit small for him, but still, I feel like they look good. And then if you want to store this, he does, no, I guess he doesn't. I was thinking he had a port on his back, but no, I usually just use the screw holes on the back of the shoulders to store his weapons, because he does have tabs on the side of the gun as well, and on the side of the sword. So, that works decently well for my purposes. But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, here he is again, Kingdom Sideswipe. So you can see obviously a lot taller there. And then here he is again with Legacy Blitzwing, who again, more G1 accurate looking. This guy's definitely a bit taller, but they both have their issues here and there. I think that he's an overall better figure, just not as good as some of the other updates. And then here he is, just for a Voyager class size comparison with Earthrise Optimus Prime. So you can see he's a pretty tall figure. Obviously, when comparing the two of these guys, right, it's just like, oh yeah, give or take. This guy is also a leader class, and this guy was a Voyager, so he costs quite a bit more. And yeah, I don't know. They're neither of them are perfect figures, but definitely, like I said, I think that he is the superior figure overall. But still, a lot of room for improvement there. But yeah, this is Thrilling 30 Blitzwing. He's okay. I feel like he gets maybe a little bit more flack than he's deserved, but he really doesn't blow it out of the water in any of his 3 modes. The transformation is a little bit awkward, and then of course he has that issue with like the locking thing, which creates other issues if you actually fix it. So both the vehicle modes are kind of hollow. The robot mode, I think, looks good and articulates well, but he does have some kind of like floppy bits. And a lot of people really didn't like the head gimmick being incorporated in him. I think that's neat. I think that the robot mode is definitely where this guy like shines, but still not totally perfect. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to him. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday until the end of the month, and then I'm going to just drop down to Tuesday and Thursday. But yeah, without further ado, here we have Transformers Generations Thrilling 30 Blitzwing.